The Smoky Mountains in the middle of winter? Why would anyone consider that? Well, in today's video, that's exactly what we're going to do. Welcome to Bear Facts, exploring the Great Smoky Mountains, one bear fact at a time. So you've made up your mind you're going on vacation somewhere, and all of a sudden you notice the Smoky Mountains. A lot of people seem to think it's a really amazing place. It has things to do for families, couples, or if you're just by yourself. There is a mountain of activities to choose from. So now you want to consider when to go. Well, it might be winter when you're watching this video and you're thinking, why would I want to go anywhere that's cold? Maybe that doesn't sound appealing to you at all. You want to go somewhere warm and tropical. Well, you can go there in the summer and you'll enjoy summer temperatures and all the activities that go along with it. But there's also a downside to visiting the Smoky Mountains in the summer. And that's what we're going to do. We'll talk about the different seasons, especially winter. The spring is a wonderful time to come and visit the park. During the spring, you're going to see a wide arrangement of wild flowers blooming along the mountainsides. The temperatures are comfortable enough to take longer hikes, and there's really quite a lot to see. However, maybe you're not going to be going on a hike. Instead, you want to enjoy a different kind of spring. Dollywood puts on a spectacular floral event, showcasing her signature butterfly and many other woodland creatures made from a wide variety of flowering plants and lush green fauna. Everywhere you go in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, it's filled with colorful reminders that spring is finally here. Of course, summer can be the best time to visit. With warmer temperatures, it's a wonderful time to come to see the mountains. The mountains are lush with vegetation and green with life. The signature blue hues of the mountains are a sight to see, and there are many activities to be found between hiking, dining, and many of the attractions that will be open during the summer. Fall is one of the most popular times of the year to visit the Smoky Mountains. During this season, people come from all over the country to explore the area, enjoy the festive colors, and take in the sights. Leaf peekers can be found taking photos of all the spectacular colors as the mountains transform from greens and blues to vibrant yellows, oranges, and reds with the change of the leaves' colors. Many people enjoy spending the evening at the island, enjoying the spectacular water, light, and music show on display in the center of the island. While they sit and people watch, wait for a reservation, or just enjoy the sunset. Perhaps one of the biggest draws for many people is the opportunity to spot one of the park's unofficial national monument, the black bear. Due to conservation efforts and work to preserve the habitat of the bear, their population has soared in the parks. You can catch glimpses of these bears anywhere, and I mean anywhere. They have been spotted strolling down the main strip, hanging out in hotel lobbies, and are common visitors at Anakeesta and other local attractions. Though the bears appear to regard people as accessories to their world, visitors should remember they are still wild animals and should be treated as such. The question is why would anyone consider coming any other time but spring or fall or summer? Think about it. Winter's not very fun. Unless you're a skier, and the Smoky Mountains are not known for skiing. In fact, you can do some winter sports here, but it's not like a resort area for skiing or snow tubing or anything like that. A lot of the parks look desolate, closed, quiet, empty. Sometimes the town looks the same. It's just not as exciting as it is during other times. So let's ponder the pros and cons of visiting the Great Smoky Mountains National Park during the winter. So the first thing we're going to do is consider the cons. It's cold. So we're not talking Alaskan cold temperatures. We're talking the north, New York, Pennsylvania, those regions. People forget that even though Tennessee is clumped in as a southern state, they're actually pretty far north, so their temperatures have a tendency to drop into the single digits. Not very often. They don't deal with a frost line or anything like that, but it does get cold. So if it doesn't bother you to be cold, that's great. If you can go camping and you enjoy the cold, then you're not going to have any problems with that. What you might have problems with is what comes with cold, which can be weather issues. So one of the biggest issues that happens in any state where there's cold is snow. Snow and ice can cripple the Smoky Mountain National Park and the region around it. It is a southern state. They are not equipped to deal with anything over a couple of inches of snow at a time. So what happens is that everything gets shut down. If you're sitting in the top of a beautiful mountain landscape log cabin, you're stuck. Your vacation's a little bit longer, and this has happened in the past. A lot of times there are a lot of road closures, and even worse, the actual mountains themselves and passes through the mountains get shut down completely as well. So you don't have access to most of the national park if this happens. So we've talked about the cold and the weather, but another downside is things are closed. An example of that is Clingman's Dome. Though you can still access Clingman's Dome, the road is closed to vehicles from basically the week after Christmas to almost the beginning of summer. It depends on road conditions on whether they open or close this area, and it's a pretty big attraction. Smoky Mountains Outdoor Water Park is closed, as well as Dollywood. They close usually at the beginning of January and open somewhere in March, so they're closed for a great deal of the winter. And there are a lot of trails that get shut down as well. They make announcements on the website to tell you whether or not a trail is open or not, and they close them for a good reason. They're treacherous in the winter. So we've talked about the cons, cold, weather, and things are closed. Well, let's talk about the pros. The first pro I'm going to talk about is the fact that it's cooler. Tennessee is in the south, so it actually gets pretty warm in the summer. And if you want to enjoy things like hiking, it can be pretty grueling to try to hike when it's 90 degrees. Now the higher elevations year-round are going to be a lot cooler than the lower elevations, a good 10 to 15 degrees actually, but it's still much more comfortable to hike when you know it's going to be no more than 40 or 50 degrees and you don't have to worry about it. If you head over Cherokee, you'll also get an opportunity to spot some of the other wildlife. The elk are often seen walking along the Smoky Mountain area, and you can see them way easier without having to look through all the foliage. For some people, one of the greatest benefits to winter is not having to worry about seeing these guys. That's not saying you won't see any, because the snakes are out and they can come out when it gets warmer, but it's very uncommon to see them in the winter. There are some poisonous snakes in the Smoky Mountains you have to be aware of, like copperheads and rattlesnakes. And if you have any fear of spiders, yeah, there's some big spiders in Tennessee. It is the South, you have to remember that. And though this spider here is basically a harmless one, they get pretty big and they get a little on the scary side. In winter, you're not going to see them. So if I haven't convinced you already, let's talk about the next pro. The next thing is it's quieter. Now I want to be clear, I'm not talking about the weeks right after Christmas. That time of year can be pretty crazy, as well as Valentine's Day. But any other time in winter, you're actually going to see a lot less crowds and you're going to have more opportunity to just actually enjoy the area. You don't have as many people fighting for the same view. You're not going to be fighting for spots for parking. and you're going to have more of a sense of peace and tranquility. Most everything is available. You can get there, you can walk around, and you're not fighting people to see it. Now, like I said, I want to be clear. If you decide to go down during the Christmas season, it's a different story. This time of year is insane, and it's gotten worse since COVID. It's a wonderful time to visit, but it is not quiet. So the next thing I'll talk about is the fact that there's still plenty to do. If you go to the Smoky Mountain National Park, you're going to find that there are still lots of trails available and open. And another nice thing is that since they've changed the parking rules and regulations, it's gotten a lot harder to find parking. It was insane before, but now it's really bad. If you want to go any of the major hiking trails, you really have to park pretty far. If you're going in the winter, you're actually going to be less likely to fight for those parking spots. And most people don't think about traffic when they're going to the Smoky Mountains. I mean, you're going to a national park. Why would you think about traffic? Well, you should, because it is a major problem down there. There's a lot of traffic and a lot of people down there at times. The parkway can get insanely busy, but even though there's a lot of traffic, that means there's still a lot of people and the businesses are going to stay open. So a lot of the major attractions are still open year-round, and that means you have plenty to do without the crowds and the people. There are a lot of things to do in the Smoky Mountain National Parks. In Pigeon Forge alone, there's major attractions, and most everything is still open. There are still some places that are closed. Some of the outdoor attractions get closed, but the restaurants are all still open, and there's not as much waiting. So if you want to go to any of the popular restaurants like Paula Deen's, you don't have the 2 or even 3 hour wait that you can sometimes experience if you go during the peak seasons. So one of the greatest draws to the Smoky Mountains during the winter time is their Winter Fest, or where they put on a spectacular light show between Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. Some of the lights are free, some of them are Dollywood. It's all over. It's an amazing experience. But with this amazing experience comes the amazing crowds and the waits and the crowds of people, traffic, you name it. If you go a couple weeks after, you're going to still get to see the lights without the people. So you can go to Gatlinburg and not hike once, not worry about the cold or the heat, and just do a lot of indoor activities. There's a lot of outdoor activities that are still available, and there's just so many things to see and do. A ton of wineries offer free samples. Chocolate Monkey, a popular local chocolatery, can't even say that right, and of course the moonshine. There's so much moonshine, you can easily spend the day just visiting different moonshine places. During the holidays, a lot of the dinner shows sell out, but in the wintertime, you're more likely to be able to enjoy one of the many dinner shows without the wait. So, a lot of people are not aware of how many caverns are in the Tennessee area. Some of the largest caverns in the world are actually found within the Tennessee region. And if you like caverns, this is the place to go. If you're willing to drive just a couple extra miles down the road, there's at least 3 or 4 caverns pretty close to the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area. Most of them are open year-round, but some of them do close in the winter. So you'll have to just make sure that you look up on their website to see whether they're open or not. So sometimes you do want to escape from the winter, and Ripley's Aquarium is an excellent place to visit and escape the cold for a few hours. Enjoy the tropical fish and just hang out. And now that we're on the topic of fish, fishing is one of the biggest draws to people in the Smoky Mountains. Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge have an excellent freshwater trout stocking program. You can step out of your hotel, cast a line, and have a large trout on your line before you even have breakfast. And you can even do it in your PJs. With a single day or week-long license, you can fish any time of the year. However, keep in mind there are rules about fishing. You can't fish on stock days, and there are certain locations where only children are allowed to fish. If you go onto the website, you'll find all the information you need to know, so you can avoid hefty fines. Another thing that you might find in the wintertime is that some things are a little cheaper. I'm mostly just talking about the hotels, and I'm being very clear about this. It is not going to be during the holiday season, so maybe a couple weeks after Christmas, you might find more options for hotels and other places where you can stay. You'll also find more availability. During the peak seasons, finding nice places and cabins is pretty hard, but you might luck out in the wintertime with a better deal. We've talked about a lot of the pros. The fact that it's cooler in the winter, a lot quieter during the later part of winter, there's plenty to do, and it's cheaper. But perhaps the most important thing is how spectacularly beautiful it can be in the winter. When you are up there in the mountains, there's just a clearness to the air and a sense of tranquility and peace that you sometimes just don't get during the summer or fall or any of the other seasons. Even though you're not seeing as much greenery, in a way, you're actually seeing more. Sometimes you look out and there was a light rain in the morning or an ice over, and nature has a way of creating some of the most spectacular sculptures. Just going there and hearing the water sprinkling underneath the icicles, it's quite an experience. Take a hike, look outside your window. There's just so much to do and so much to see when you're out there in the wintertime. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit like or subscribe so that I can continue making more helpful videos on the Smoky Mountain National Park.